$8. That's what the part inside your engine costs, the one almost no driver ever thinks about replacing. When it fails, the repair bill climbs past $5,000 and sometimes crosses $10,000. It's called a PCV valve, which stands for Positive Crankcase Ventilation, and every gas-powered car on the road right now has one tucked inside the engine. A part that costs less than lunch money can decide whether your next car repair is a minor hiccup or a financial disaster. The PCV valve costs $8 at any auto parts store, and it sits buried under your hood, quietly doing its job, but almost nobody replaces it. Not you, not your neighbor, not even the guy who changes his own oil. Industry surveys show that 99% of drivers never touch this part until something goes wrong. The price difference is staggering, $8 now, or a bill that can reach $9,000 if you wait. This is not just a scare tactic. GM's own technical bulletins describe how a blocked PCV valve can freeze in cold weather, spike engine pressure, and blow out a rear main seal. Owners of Chevrolet Equinox and GMC Terrain models have posted repair quotes online: $2,800 for a new seal and $8,500 for a replacement engine after all the oil dumped out on the highway. BMW recalled nearly 1 million vehicles after their PCV heater failed and started engine fires. Subaru had to replace thousands of PCV valves when they began breaking apart and sending metal fragments into the engine. Yet, for most drivers, the PCV valve never appears on a maintenance schedule. It is listed as replace only if defective, so it gets ignored year after year. Meanwhile, the repair industry reports that a stuck or blocked PCV valve is behind thousands of blown gaskets, ruined catalytic converters, and even total engine failures. All because an $8 part was left to fail. The next time you think about skipping that tiny cheap component, remember, it's not the price of the part that hurts, it's the price of ignoring it. Drivers across the country are skipping vital maintenance not just on big-ticket repairs, but on the smallest parts, the ones that quietly keep everything running. A Finance Buzz survey of 1,000 U.S. drivers found that 64% admit to putting off needed service, even when they know it is due. That is not a fringe group, it is nearly 2 out of every 3 people on the road. CarMD's January 2024 study paints an even sharper picture. 49% of vehicles have at least one dashboard warning light glowing while they are being driven. Almost half of the cars you see every day are signaling a problem, yet their owners keep rolling, hoping nothing will go wrong. Why does this happen? Part of the answer lies in the fine print of service manuals. Open the official guide for most modern vehicles and you will find wording such as PCV valve, replace only if defective, or thermostat, replace if temperature deviates from specification. The radiator cap is lumped in with instructions to inspect for pressure loss and replace as required. For the average driver, that translates to, do not worry about it until something breaks. Manufacturers designed these components to last for years, and regulatory rules in the 1990s even pushed for sealed-for-life systems to reduce emissions tampering. But real-world data shows that these lifetime parts are often ignored until they fail. The gap between what the manual says and what actually happens on the road leaves millions exposed to preventable breakdowns. When nearly half of all cars keep driving with warning lights on, and most maintenance schedules skip over the cheap, high-risk parts, neglect becomes the norm, not the exception. Every gasoline engine creates pressure with every turn of the crankshaft. Not all of it stays where it should. Some gases slip past the piston rings, a process called blow-by, and collect in the crankcase, mixing with oil and building up pressure. That's where the PCV valve comes in. This tiny part, usually no bigger than your thumb, sits on top of the engine, often screwed into the valve cover or plugged into a port with a small hose running to the intake manifold. Its job is simple but essential. It lets those blow-by gases escape in a controlled way, sending them back into the intake so they can be burned off safely in the next combustion cycle. Without this one-way valve, pressure inside the engine would rise every minute the motor runs. The PCV opens when the engine is running, using vacuum from the intake to pull gases out of the crankcase. When the engine is off or under heavy load, a spring inside the valve snaps it shut, blocking backflow and keeping the system sealed. This constant cycling keeps oil cleaner, prevents sludge, and stops pressure from blowing out seals or gaskets. You'll find the PCV valve connected by a short hose, sometimes rubber, sometimes hard plastic, leading straight to the intake. If you follow that hose, you'll usually spot the valve right at the end, held in place by a simple clip or threaded fitting. It's not flashy, but it's the gatekeeper between a healthy engine and a slow, silent buildup of trouble. A working PCV system means less oil vapor floating around, fewer leaks, and a crankcase that lasts as long as the car itself. All from a part most drivers never even see. A PCV valve can fail in two ways, and each one leads straight to your wallet. When the valve sticks open, oil vapor floods the intake and burns off in the exhaust. The result? Blue smoke, a check engine light, and a catalytic converter that is slowly poisoned by oil residue. That is not just an emissions problem. Once the converter is fouled, you are looking at a replacement bill that averages $1,300 nationwide, according to CarMD's 2024 Vehicle Health Index. Ignore it long enough, and the engine control computer may force the car into limp mode, leaving you stranded. But a stuck, closed PCV valve is even nastier. Pressure builds up inside the crankcase, forcing oil past gaskets and seals. The weakest link is often the rear main seal, a $30 rubber ring buried between the engine and transmission. When it blows, oil pours out, sometimes in seconds. A rear main seal job routinely costs $2,000 to $3,500, depending on your vehicle. If the engine loses oil on the highway and seizes, the next stop is a full engine replacement. That is an $8,000 to $10,000 bill, not counting towing or rental cars. These are not rare horror stories. GM's own service bulletin details how a frozen PCV valve can destroy a rear main seal overnight. BMW and Subaru have both issued recalls for PCV-related engine damage. The math is brutal. Skip an $8 part, and you risk a repair bill that is 100 times higher. For most families, that is the difference between a quick fix and a financial crisis. BMW recalled nearly 917,000 vehicles from 2006 to 2013 after their PCV valve heater could short out and start engine fires, even when the car was parked. Subaru flagged more than 50,000 late-model Ascent, Forester, and Crosstrek hybrids because the PCV valve could break apart, sending metal into the engine and wiping out the oil pressure in seconds. GM's own bulletin, TSB14882, spells out the chain reaction. A blocked PCV in Equinox or Terrain models from 2010 to 2017 lets pressure build, blows the rear main seal, and dumps every drop of oil onto the road. Owners posted repair invoices online, $3,800 for a new seal, $8,500 for a replacement engine, and sometimes claims were denied under warranty because of VIN glitches. So, how do you know if you are at risk? Watch for these 5 warning signs: sudden oil loss, blue or gray exhaust smoke, rough or wandering idle, a check engine light, especially codes P0505 or P0401, and fresh oil leaking around the valve cover or intake. Any one of these can mean your PCV valve is failing. Ignore them, and you could be staring at a bill that is 100 times the price of the part. A thermostat and a radiator cap, 2 more parts that cost less than a fast food meal, stand guard over your engine every mile you drive. The thermostat, usually under $15, has one job: open at the right temperature to let coolant flow. If it sticks closed, heat builds fast. Within minutes, coolant boils, pressure skyrockets, and the weakest point gives way. For some, that is a $1,500 head gasket. For others, it is a warped cylinder head or a cracked engine block, repairs that can run $5,000 or more. Jeep Grand Wagoneer owners learned this the hard way in 2022, when faulty thermostats stranded families in triple-digit heat, waiting weeks for back-ordered parts while repair bills soared. Right beside it, the radiator cap quietly controls system pressure. This $12 piece keeps coolant from boiling off and also acts as a safety valve. If the cap loses its seal, pressure drops, coolant escapes, and the engine overheats. The result is the same catastrophic chain: overheating, blown gaskets, and sometimes a total engine replacement. Swapping either part at home takes less than 15 minutes and basic hand tools. Together with the PCV valve, these three parts form a cheap insurance policy under $30 total that protects you from the kind of breakdowns that can wipe out a savings account. Do not wait for a warning light or a tow truck. Replace them before they fail, and you will never have to wonder what went wrong. Right now, nearly half of U.S. drivers ignore dashboard warnings, while a few overlooked parts rack up billions in preventable repairs every year. The next breakdown isn't bad luck. It's often a $10 fix postponed too long. The small stuff still decides your wallet. Don't let $8 cost you thousands.